ahead and start sharing my screen. And as Dominica mentioned, my name is Kate Hillenbrand. I serve as the Director of Communications and Outreach with the Alaska Commission on Post-Secondary Education. And I'm going to start things off with giving you a little bit of information about our mission and our vision as an agency. This is really what drives us forward. ACPE, our mission is to provide sustainable solutions for college, career, and technical training. So kind of at the end of the day, at the heart of what we do, that is the mission. That is what we are here to do for Alaskans. And in doing so, we have a vision, so a forward-looking vision, where Alaskans are educated and skilled contributors to our vibrant communities and economy. So to help us get there, we have identified 4 strategic priorities that we believe will help us attain our mission and for our state to realize our vision. And these are tied to various components of our agency, partly to become a lender of choice in Alaska for Alaskans. And then also in doing so, increasing our communities, our students' access to and utilization of education funding sources, both federal and state sources. So that's kind of at the top level, but in order for us to be able to achieve those 2 priorities and meet those 2 priorities, we also have to look internally and operate a sustainable organization that is responsive and relevant to our students, to our state, and in doing so, we're here again to bridge an education gap that we see in Alaska's current and future workforce needs. So again, before we get into the overview of ACPE's programs and resources, I do want to give a bit of a recap of what we've been up to over the last year. It has been a very exciting and change-filled, transformative year for us. As I mentioned, and as you saw at the start with our mission in providing sustainable solutions, everything that we do at ACPE is really about serving Alaskans. So these actions that we've taken, what we've done, the changes that we've seen in our agency are really for Alaskans. So part of that was part of doing that came out of creating and building a new strategic plan for our agency, where we created a new mission, vision, the strategic priorities that I just shared about, as well as updating our visual elements, so brand elements. You may have seen, for those of you who have been with us for a number of years, we have updated our logo, number of pieces on our website. So we hope you're enjoying some of those visual updates that we've made as well. There will be a lot of conversation about this a little bit later this morning, but we also made some tremendous updates and changes to the Alaska Performance Scholarship, which is a state scholarship that is administered by ACPE. The award has been in existence since 2011, and over the years, we've seen a decline in students' eligibility for APS, as well as their use of the award. So a lot of the feedback we received about that decline in eligibility and use was tied back to the eligibility requirements as well as the amount of the award. It was really no longer serving the purpose and the need that it did back in 2011. So through the efforts of many people, legislation was passed and signed by the governor in June to put into effect some new changes to the APS, which again, we'll be speaking about a little bit later this morning. ACPE was also part of, or put into effect a number of changes to our education loan programs, which I'll be speaking about in a little while. Again, with the goal and the intent of making our education funding opportunities more relevant and responsive to the needs of our Alaskan students. And then, of course, we have our Alaska FAFSA Completion Initiative, which is one of the primary tenets of ACAC, with the ultimate goal of increasing the completion rates, the FAFSA completion rates for our Alaska students. Because again, what we know is that when students complete the FAFSA, they are more likely to have greater access to education fundings. They are more likely to be able to pursue and persist and complete their post-secondary education endeavors. So it's really critically important for our Alaska students to complete their FAFSA. The Alaska FAFSA Completion Initiative is a strong leader and proponent of that. So next, again, those were the actions that we have taken for Alaskans, and these are some of the impacts that we have seen over the last year. And it's also important to kind of give this context of why it's important. This is very much part of our why in implementing a lot of these changes. So as I was just speaking about with the Alaska FAFSA Completion Initiative, we know our Alaska students are not completing the FAFSA at the rate that is comparable to many of our counterparts in the lower 48. In the last couple of years, we have seen over $10 million left on the table in Pell Grants because our students have not completed the FAFSA. So again, increasing their completion rates will then increase their access to this much needed funding. Again, which ties into the students' ability to enroll, persist, and complete in Alaska's college and career training programs. And then the high level overarching goal here in these impacts is to align with our statewide educational and workforce needs and ensuring that we stay relevant and responsive to these needs that we see at the statewide level. So to get into it from here, again, we've gone through who and what ACPE is, what we do, why we do it, and now the what. So we'll be talking about our resources for Alaskans. And again, this is a high-level overview. Most of these will be covered in far greater detail as your ACAC training moves forward in the coming days and weeks. So first we have our ACPE Kids to Careers program. The primary focus on this program is around students grades 5 through 12, where we offer students, educators, families, and education partners like yourselves resources that we have identified that are really relevant and critical to students being able to intentionally plan for their life and their college and career goals, college career training goals after high school. So the purpose here with the Kids to Careers program is really to bridge that knowledge gap that we have identified. We have very strong programming for the younger age students. And then, we've seen from our partners, there's a bit of a gap for students in grades 6, 7, 8, early high school as well. And then they get into, planning more for life after high school in 11th and 12th grade. And so really, we saw a need in those middle areas to again bridge a gap, and that is where the Kids to Careers program was developed out of. We also have our AKCIS 360 platform, the Alaska Career Information System, which is an online personal learning and career planning system, which is free to use for all Alaskans. This is a platform sponsored by ACPE, and with also additional support from the Department of Education and Early Development, as well as the Department of Labor, that is brought to Alaskans and all school districts, again, for free. So students are able to utilize this system to create their own personal learning and career plans. This can start, as mentioned, as early as grade 3, but really, again, tying into Kids to Careers, this can start in middle school and stay with them all through high school as they, again, are planning for and making decisions about what they want to do after graduation. We also have, as we all know, because that's what we're here for today, the ACAC program. ACAC, as Dominica had mentioned, leads the Alaska FAFSA Completion Initiative and offers this annual training. And it's really about equipping all of you, our education partners, with the knowledge, support, resources, and tools that are necessary for you to be able to guide students and families in your communities in their post-secondary education planning process. And we also have our ACPE Success Center. The Success Center, again, offers post-secondary education resources to students and families. You'll be able to, in working with the Success Center, you can set up one-on-one appointments to, again, navigate processes like FAFSA completion or education loan applications, applications for post-secondary programming. So there's that one-on-one or small group component, but then the Success Center also offers larger presentations, like you'll be seeing a little bit later in the ACAC training, and also classroom and community organization presentations. So next we'll move into our education funding opportunities. So the programming that I just shared about is really the foundational programming that helps Alaskans plan and prepare for their post-secondary education goals. Now we'll pivot into discussing where ACPE comes into play when it comes to education funding and actually funding those post-secondary education plans. So as I briefly mentioned before, ACPE administers 2 different state awards. One is the Alaska Education Grant, and one is the Alaska Performance Scholarship. There will be a presentation after mine specifically about the Alaska Education Grant, or the AEG. So just to give a very high-level overview, this is a need-based grant. So it is based on the financial need as demonstrated by a student completing the FAFSA. So the FAFSA is required for the AEG. And then it, again, need-based for an Alaska resident pursuing an education program in the state of Alaska. And then the award, the education grant, ranges anywhere from $500 to $4,000 per academic year. This award is offered on a kind of a ranked basis. So the earlier that a student is able to complete the FAFSA and get that FAFSA submitted, the better. When we are awarding, we look at the highest financial need as well as the date that the FAFSA was filed. And the AEG is awarded out in that manner until all the funds are exhausted each year. Then we have our merit-based award, which is the Alaska Performance Scholarship. I will be giving a much more in-depth presentation about the APS later this morning. As I mentioned earlier, there have been many changes to APS that were put in place this summer. So If you have heard a lot about the APS over the years, be sure to stay on this afternoon, or excuse me, this morning, because there is a lot to share, a lot of updates to share about the APS. One of which is that the award amount has increased. It is now up to $28,000 across 8 semesters, or to be used within 8 years of high school graduation. Again, this is a merit-based award, not a need-based award. So we are looking at the curriculum that a student has taken in high school, and then the student would qualify by earning a minimum GPA requirement or a minimum score on the SAT, ACT, or Word Keys. This is also an award that requires the FAFSA. Even though it is not need-based, the FAFSA does still serve as the application for APS. So students are required to fill out the FAFSA to be eligible to receive both of these awards. Then we also have our education loans. So the first two, there was a scholarship and a grant, and now we have the education loan opportunities. ACPE offers 3 primary education loans: our supplemental loan, which is our student loan. Then we have a family education loan, as well as a refinance education loan. And as you've maybe picked up on, there is a bit of a theme in the programs and resources that ACPE offers. We're really here to kind of fill a gap, fill the need. In this case, our education loans are here to bridge the remaining educational financial needs that a student may have after they've exhausted other forms of scholarships and grants. Our loans have numerous safeguards put in place to protect students against overborrowing, because we do not want to see our students saddled with education loan debt that is over and above what is absolutely necessary for them to complete their studies. So we have, again, numerous safeguards in place to protect our students. And then we have seen that students, by borrowing through ACPE, they end up saving quite a bit through ACPE versus going with other private lenders. Often our students will pay anywhere from $3,000 to $15,000 more in education loans by taking them out through private lenders. So definitely something to keep in mind. So we have our supplemental education loan, which again, this is a loan for students to take out to use for their post-secondary education programming. This can be used for schools in Alaska, out of state, as well as for career training programs. And there are 2 repayment options available to students who take out the supplemental education loan. The first option is a full deferment, meaning while they are enrolled full-time, they do not have to make any payments. The second option is an immediate repayment loan that we've just introduced this spring. The immediate repayment means once it's been dispersed, the student will start making the payment the next month. It's a minimum $50 payment per month. And really the goal with that immediate repayment loan program is to help our students. One, they'll be repaying their debt faster by starting those payments as immediately, but also it really does help to build good financial practices and hopefully increasing and improving their students' credit over the life of their loan. For this loan, as well as the next, students are able to borrow up to $24,000 a year for full-time enrollment, and this is as an undergraduate, graduate, or in a career training program. Next, we have our family education loan, which is very similar to the supplemental loan on the previous screen. However, this loan is one in which family members can take out the loan on behalf of students to help support their financial needs of their program. For the family education loan, family in this in this situation includes parents, grandparents, spouses, a step parent, a foster parent. And again, they are eligible to take out up to $24,000 depending on the student's enrollment status. Lastly, we have our refinance education loan. Now, this is for students who are no longer enrolled in an education program or have graduated. And a student, if they're looking to, if they have multiple loans and they're looking to consolidate their education loans into one monthly bill, they have the opportunity to do so with our refinance program. They have refinance payment terms from 5, 10 to 15 years. And as with all of ACPE's education loans, there are no fees. There are no hidden charges, no origination fees, no prepayment penalties. So that's also something to consider when you are talking to students about education loans. Does the lender have some of these other hidden fees or charges or penalties? At ACPE, we do not. What you see is what you get with our loans. Now, there are also 3 other what we call specialty loan programs offered by ACPE, and these are very specific to the kind of the subject matter, the program itself. So the other loan programs were not education kind of program specific, whereas these 3 are. So the first is called the Win-Brindle. The Win-Brindle is a loan for students who may be enrolled full-time in a fisheries related program. Then we have the WWAMI Medical Education Program, which offers funding for up to 30 Alaska students who are enrolled in the University of Washington School of Medicine multi-state medical education program. And then lastly, we refer to as PSEP, the WICHE Professional Student Exchange Program. And this is a loan that helps, or that's used by Alaska students who are pursuing a degree in an approved health-related field, but that degree is not available in Alaska. So that is another loan program opportunity available through ACPE. So I've shared a lot of information, a lot of high-level information with all of you this morning, and I want to make sure that you have all the information and kind of points of contact. If you do have questions, want more information, need a way to connect with us, we encourage you to do so. I believe Dominica will be sending out this information after the training. So it is all here, all of the content that I shared in my presentation this morning. These are the specific phone numbers, emails, and websites that you can take a look at to get more information. So with that, I believe we have a little bit of extra time this morning. So please let me know if you have any questions. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Kate. I've been sharing information in the chat box. Thank you so much for your presentation from Katrina.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
I don't see any questions in the chat box, so we'll let you take a short break before you return for in-detail presentation on the Alaska Performance Scholarship.
Wonderful. Thank you all.
So
we'll
much.
See you in a little bit.
Thank you, Kate. Let's take 7 minutes to refill our cups with fresh coffee or tea, whichever is your cup of tea. And we'll be back at 9:40 with the Alaska Education Grant and my dear colleague, Christina Campbell. Thank you.